Welcome to the Sewer Wealth Podcast, where we bring you the timeless wisdom of the world's greatest business and wealth-building books. In each episode, we break down proven strategies from legendary minds, so you can apply them to your own journey toward financial freedom and success. So, get ready to unlock the secrets of success, one book at a time.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. You've handed us chapters 2 and 3 of Napoleon Hill's classic Think and Grow Rich.
That's right.
And our goal here is to, pull up the really crucial insights for you, our listener. We want to make it clear, engaging, maybe find a few aha moments.
Definitely.
Today, we're focusing squarely on those foundational steps for building wealth that Hill lays out.
Yeah.
Desire and faith.
Two huge ones.
And we're drawing from the great work done by the Sure Wealth podcast. Their whole approach is timeless lessons, real wealth, one book at a time.
A perfect fit for this book. So let's dive in. These ideas, desire and faith, they're powerful.
They really are. Hill kicks off chapter 2 talking about desire, calling it the absolute starting point of all achievement.
Yeah, not just an achievement, but all achievement. It's a big claim.
It is. And he doesn't just state it. He immediately gives us this incredible story of Edwin C. Barnes.
Ah, yes. The man who wanted to work with Edison, not just for him.
Exactly. Hill describes Barnes' desire as keen, pulsating. He says it was a consuming obsession. It makes you stop and think, do I feel that strongly about my own goals?
That's the core question, isn't it? And it wasn't vague. Barnes' desire was definite. He didn't just hope to meet Edison someday.
No, he showed up practically broke, I think. Yeah.
Traveled by freight train, looked like a tramp according to the book. But in his own mind, he saw himself as Edison's partner from the moment he arrived.
Even while doing really menial work initially.
Right, for 5 years. That's the staggering part. 5 years before his actual chance came. But internally, that vision, that desire, it never wavered.
That level of certainty is just, wow. Showing up and saying, I'm here to go into business with Mr. Edison.
And Hill highlights that Barnes burned all bridges behind him. There was no plan B.
Like that story of the warrior burning his ships. Victory or nothing.
Precisely. That level of commitment seems to almost force success in a way.
Hill follows it up with another powerful example, the Chicago merchant after the Great Fire.
Oh, yeah. Marshall Field, amidst total ruins while others were leaving.
He decides, no, I'm rebuilding here, and I'm going to build the world's greatest store. That's burning desire right there.
Absolutely. And it really forces you to contrast that with just, wishing for things. Wishing is passive.
Desire, in Hill's view, is active.
Yeah.
It becomes an obsession, but a productive one, backed by plans and, importantly, persistence.
Yes, which leads directly into those 6 practical steps he lays out. They're surprisingly concrete.
Very. Let's run through them quickly. First, fix the exact amount of money you want. No vagueness allowed.
Right. None of this I want to be rich stuff. How much exactly?
Second, determine exactly what you intend to give in return. Crucial point, no something for nothing.
Absolutely critical. Value for value. Third,
establish a definite date by when you intend to possess it. A deadline.
Creates urgency, keeps you focused.
Okay, fourth.
Create a definite plan for carrying out your desire. And this is key, begin at once, whether you feel ready or not.
Action. Immediate action. No waiting for the perfect moment. Fifth step. Write it all down. A clear, concise statement. The amount, the time limit, what you'll give in return, the plan. Get it on paper.
Makes it tangible, real. And the final step, number 6.
Read that written statement aloud twice daily, morning and night. And as you read, you have to see, feel, and believe yourself already in possession of the money.
That visualization piece is huge, isn't it? It's not just reading words. It's about embodying the feeling of success now.
He says you have to really persuade yourself that you already have it. That's how desire starts to work its magic.
It's like you're training your subconscious mind, which ties into his idea of developing money consciousness.
Right. When your mind becomes so saturated with the desire for money and the belief you'll get it, that you start thinking and acting like someone who already has wealth. It's almost like mental conditioning.
It definitely sounds like that. And he mentions that people like Carnegie and Edison endorse these principles, which adds some weight.
Yeah, it's not just Hill's theory. He argues it takes imagination, that you can't leave wealth accumulation to chance or luck. It requires this white heat of desire.
And he connects this idea of desire to the power of dreams. He lists all these historical figures.
Columbus, Copernicus, Henry Ford, the Wright brothers, Marconi.
Right. People whose ideas probably seemed completely crazy at the time. Marconi was even institutionalized for a bit, wasn't he?
Incredible. It shows how radical ideas, driven by intense desire, can face huge resistance before they change the world.
And those quotes he uses are so resonant. The greatest achievement was, at first and for a time, but a dream.
And dreams are the seedlings of reality. It's incredibly encouraging, especially for what he calls practical dreamers.
He urges them to use definite purpose and burning desire to navigate the changes of their time, like the depression he was writing in.
And he gives more examples of people overcoming massive obstacles. John Bunyan writing in prison, Helen Keller, Beethoven being deaf, Milton blind.
Booker T. Washington, overcoming racial barriers. It drives home the point that desire can triumph over almost anything.
Which sets up probably the most personal and moving story in the chapter. His own experience with his son, Blair.
Oh, absolutely. That story is profoundly impactful. Blair being born without any physical sign of years.
And the doctor's prognosis was essentially that he'd likely be deaf and mute for life.
But Hill, the father, instantly formed this intense, unwavering desire for his son to hear and speak. He just refused to accept the doctor's verdict.
That's desire in its purest form, isn't it? Rejecting reality based on a deeply held conviction.
Completely. And then the steps he took, discovering Blair had a tiny bit of hearing through bone conduction.
The fascination with the Victrola.
And crucially, the way Hill deliberately instilled in Blair the desire to hear, telling him bedtime stories, framing his condition not as a handicap, but as an asset.
That reframing is brilliant. Telling him it would make people pay more attention, that it was an advantage for selling newspapers.
Which apparently worked. Blair developed self-reliance, that early entrepreneurial spirit, and they made the conscious choice not to teach him sign language.
A huge decision, aiming for a completely normal life against the odds.
And then the payoff. Years later, in college, Blair tries a new hearing device.
And for the first time, experiences practically normal hearing. It must have been overwhelming.
Unbelievably so. And Blair's reaction. To dedicate his life to helping the hard of hearing, turning his biggest challenge into his greatest asset.
The doctors were astonished, weren't they? Like Dr. Voorhees saying he theoretically shouldn't be able to hear at all.
Exactly. Hilly uses it as the ultimate proof that desire, backed by unwavering faith, which we'll get to, can seemingly bend nature itself.
It's an extraordinary story. He adds others too, like Madame Schumann-Heink, the opera singer, initially rejected for her appearance.
Whose desire propelled her anyway. And the businessman surviving surgery through sheer will to live.
The core message is hammered home. Achievement starts with an intense, burning desire for something definite. It creates this mental chemistry that sees no impossibilities.
Which is the perfect bridge to chapter 3, faith. Because desire alone isn't quite enough, is it?
No, you need that absolute belief. Hill calls faith the head chemist of the mind.
Right. He suggests faith, when blended with our thoughts, gets picked up by the subconscious and communicated to. Well, he calls it infinite intelligence.
It's quite metaphysical language, but the core idea is about belief amplifying thought. He says faith, love, and sex are the most powerful positive emotions.
And when blended, they give thoughts immense power over the subconscious. Which brings us back to autosuggestion.
Yes, he argues faith isn't just something you have or don't have. It's a state of mind you can induce or create.
How? Through repeated affirmations and instructions to your subconscious. Through autosuggestion.
He uses us reading the book, Wanting Wealth, as an example. If we repeatedly tell our subconscious we will achieve it with feeling, we can build faith.
It's like planting and watering a seed. He does admit it's hard to explain how to get faith if you don't have it, like describing red to someone blind from birth.
True. But he insists that repetition of affirmation is the only known method to voluntarily develop it.
He uses that striking, if maybe a bit harsh, analogy of how people become criminals through repeated negative association.
To illustrate that the subconscious accepts any dominant repeated thought, positive or negative.
So thoughts mixed with faith start turning into reality. But critically, thoughts mixed with fear or doubt also turn into reality. That's where misfortune often comes from, he argues. Negative belief systems.
That's a sobering thought. We have to consciously feed our subconscious with belief and expectation.
Yes, act as if you already possess what you desire. You can sort of deceive your subconscious in a positive way.
Acting as if.
Exactly. And the subconscious, taking those orders given in faith, will then work to manifest them in the most practical way possible.
But it takes practice, right? Not just reading about it.
Absolutely. You have to experiment, apply the principles, develop faith like a muscle.
By constantly, voluntarily suggesting its presence to your subconscious. encouraging positive emotions, weeding out the negative ones.
Creating that fertile mental ground. He repeats the definition. Faith is a state of mind which may be induced by autosuggestion.
He points out that religions often talk about faith, but don't always explain how to get it. Hill gives a how self-suggestion.
And he calls faith the eternal elixir, giving life and power to our thoughts.
He lists its amazing powers. Starting point of riches, basis of miracles, antidote for failure, connects us to infinite intelligence.
Transforms thoughts, harnesses cosmic power. And he says it's all provable through autosuggestion.
Because we eventually believe what we repeatedly tell ourselves, true or false. Our dominant, emotionally charged thoughts define us.
And then he introduces this idea of thoughts becoming magnetic.
Yeah, attracting similar thoughts from the ether, this vast cosmic field of vibrations, both good and bad.
Like attracts like, so a dominant thought, positive or negative, draws in more of the same, grows stronger, and becomes a master motivator.
Which is why writing down, memorizing, and repeating your definite chief aim is so crucial. You're deliberately planting and nurturing the right kind of magnetic seed.
You have to consciously build your own mental environment, fight against negative influences. And a common weakness is lack of self-confidence.
Which, again, he says autosuggestion can fix. He provides that very practical self-confidence formula.
5 steps again. 1. Know you can achieve your definite purpose. Demand persistent action. 2. Concentrate daily on the person you want to become. 3. Use autosuggestion daily to build self-confidence. 4. Write down your aim and don't stop trying until confidence is built. 5. Ensure all transactions benefit everyone, eliminate negativity, believe in others and yourself.
And the instruction is clear. Sign it, memorize it, repeat it aloud daily with full faith.
Believing it as you say it, he acknowledges we might not fully grasp the underlying law, call it autosuggestion, but it works.
Positively if used for success, but negatively too. It explains, he says, why people end up in misery, negative autosuggestion. Fear taking hold.
That story of Joseph Grant, the bank official dying of fear of mental suicide, is a chilling illustration.
It really is. The subconscious doesn't judge. It just acts on the dominant input, fear or faith.
Like electricity, useful or destructive depending on how you direct it. So don't fill your mind with fear and doubt.
Because autosuggestion will use that as the pattern. That poem he includes sums it up perfectly.
If you think you are beaten, you are.
If you think you'll lose, you've lost.
Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but sooner or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
Powerful stuff. It all comes down to mindset. He believes everyone has a sleeping seed of achievement.
Yeah, a genius within that can be awakened. He uses Lincoln as an example, finding greatness after 40, potentially sparked by love and sorrow.
He notes that connection between love, faith, and achievement, often seeing a woman's influence behind successful men.
And then he points to the grand-scale examples of faith, Jesus and Christianity as the ultimate case study.
And Gandhi, influencing millions nonviolently, purely through the power of faith and conviction.
He even predicts that business, learning from the Depression, will start to harness faith more consciously.
Which leads to that final, really dramatic example, the creation of U.S. Steel.
A perfect illustration of desire transmuted into reality. It started with an idea in Charles M. Schwab's mind.
An idea presented in an after-dinner speech, right, to Andrew Carnegie and J.P. Morgan.
Exactly. An idea for consolidating steel companies. Morgan was initially skeptical, but Schwab presented it with such faith, such burning desire.
Combined with imagination, a plan, persistence, all the elements we've discussed.
And Morgan bought into it. The result was U.S. Steel, a massive corporation born from an idea.
Hill estimates Schwab's idea, delivered with faith, generated something like $600 million in value. Incredible.
It just proves his point. Riches begin as thought. The only limits are the ones we set ourselves.
And faith, he says, removes those limitations.
So, wrapping up these 2 chapters, the message is crystal clear. You start with a burning, definite desire. That's the engine.
And then you fuel it with unwavering faith, the belief that you can and will achieve it. That's the ignition in the steering.
It really makes you reflect, doesn't it? How definite are my desires? How strong is my faith? Are they just wishes, or is there real heat there?
Exactly. Which leads us to our final thought for you, the listener. How can you, starting today, apply these principles? What's one concrete step towards defining your desire and building your faith using, say, the self-confidence formula? And maybe think about this. What bridges are you truly ready to burn to commit fully?
That's a powerful question to ponder. Our next deep dive will build right on this, looking at autosuggestion in more detail and the crucial role of specialized knowledge.
Both are essential next steps on this path.
Definitely. And if this discussion has sparked something for you, we really do recommend getting a copy of Think and Grow Rich. Read it yourself, absorb it.
We've put a link in the description. Purchasing through it is a great way to support the show, too, if you're inclined.
It's a book that keeps on giving no matter how many times you read it.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to exploring the next chapters with you. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
But until next time.